My eldest daughter, Emily, is profoundly deaf. Now, when she was 4, she became one of the first children in the world to be given cochlear implants. And if you go online and search for cochlear implant turn-ons, you're going to find hundreds of videos of deaf people having their implants turned on and hearing for the first time. And I was lucky enough to be in the room on the day that Emily had her implants turned on. And I remember when I asked her what she could hear, she said it sounded like butterflies dancing. I know, it was one of the nicest things I'd ever heard. But nobody goes from silence one day to hearing and understanding perfectly the next. It's a journey. And today, Emily is a teenager. And if you speak to her one-on-one, she can hear well. But when she's in a group, it's much more difficult. And that can be a problem because, as we know, teenagers hunt in groups. They gossip in groups. Yeah. And so if Emily's in a group of gossiping teenagers, she can find it difficult to follow what's going on. She can find it hard to get into the conversation. And because of that, she's always found it a real problem to make good friends. But one day last year, Emily was at school. She was in class, and her teacher, Mr. Brady, was wearing a special microphone which links up to Emily's cochlear implant. And it means that everything he says to the rest of the class goes directly into her ear. Anyway, on this one day, Mr. Brady, he set a task for the class, and he left the room for a minute. He said he'd be back shortly. Some of you have been there, yeah. He forgot to turn off his microphone. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. But a minute or so later, Emily could hear Mr. Brady going to the toilet. Both ends. Front and back, in case you don't know what both ends mean. It gets worse. While singing to himself the Shoop Shoop song by Cher. I know. Now, this is unlike Emily, but she told the boy sitting next to her what she could hear. And he told the girl sitting next to him. And so while poor Mr. Brady was hugging and squeezing tight, the whole class knew what they wanted to know, all right. Now, that night, Emily told me what had happened, but a week or so later, I got an email from Mr. Brady asking me if I could come in and see him. Anyway, I went into the classroom, we shook hands. I thought, I hope he's washed them this time. We sat down, he said, "Have you heard what happened last week?" I said, well, not quite as well as Emily heard, but yes, I've heard. He said, "I just want to apologize. I'm normally so much more careful with the microphone." And I said, no, I should apologize on behalf of Emily. She shouldn't have spread the gossip like that. And I remember he looked at me firmly in the eye. He said, "Mr. Magill, I went to the toilet in your daughter's ears while serenading her with Cher. I'm lucky I haven't been arrested." He said, "Have you heard the new nickname they've all given me?" I said, no. He said, "The Shoop Shoop Shitter." I know. He said, "Every time I go to the bathroom now, they're all stood outside singing 'It's in his piss.'" I know. I said, "I'm sorry." I said that teenagers can be so cruel. He said, "That's the other teachers." But what he said next will stay with me forever because it was so nice. He said, when I came back into this classroom last week, he said, everyone was laughing at me, and I told them to sit down, to go back to their seats and get on with their work because they weren't at their seats. They were all crowded around Emily. They wanted the gossip, and they wanted the gossip from Emily. And I've never seen her look that happy. He said, all the other kids in the class, they're always so respectful to Emily and her disability. But last week, it stopped being a disability, and it turned into a superpower. And she's transforming into a social butterfly before our eyes. Yeah. He said, so if the price to pay for that is me being gossiped about and laughed at for a few weeks, then I think I'm okay with that. He said, please, just promise me, Mr. Magill, you'll never tell this story in public. I said, Mr. Brady, you have my word. Thank you.